Hi, this is Phyllis. Welcome back to my channel. Today's project is going to be this cute rondelle beaded rope, and I hope that you will hang with me today and make this project. So if you like what you see, stay tuned for my materials list. Thank you. The materials for today's project are a size 8/0 seed beads, and the color for these seed beads is cocoa lined crystal. Yep. And I'm using some size 11/0 seed beads. These are the Toho brand, and the color is matte peach coral, and that's a permanent galvanized color. I'm using some 8x6 rondelle beads. These are check glass, and I don't know the color. They came on a strand, and this is how it's labeled. Oops, sorry about that. This is how it's labeled. So there's no color on it, so it's just a multicolor summary type. I think it's beautiful. I'm using one beading needle, a 15mm toggle clasp and bar, and this is the stainless steel coating. I'm using 2 wire guardians, and they are also the stainless steel coating. I'm using a stop bead, my 6-pound fire line in the crystal color, my nippers, and my bead board. And that's the materials. If you liked the project that you saw in my introduction, stay tuned and we will get started on our project. I threaded my needle with 2 yards of my thread, and I'm going to now place a stop bead. I'm gonna run this stop bead maybe, I don't know, 2/3 of the way or half the way down, because what I want to do is I just want to make a focal piece with the rondelles. I'm sorry, a focal length with the rondelles. So I'm just gonna run my needle back through that stop bead just one time. I want to, I just want to not have my beads fall off as I do this, because what I'm going to do is thread the when I decide how long of a focal piece I want, I'm going to just then use my 8/0s and my 11/0s to string both sides. So that's why I wanted to leave an extra piece on a very long tail on the other end. So I'm going to start now by stringing on a rondelle and 9 seed beads, 9 11/0 seed. I'm sorry. Nope. I'm going to do 1 8/0 and 7 of my 11/0s. When I made this bracelet here, I didn't use any 8/0s, and the 11/0 seed bead right by the rondelle really was stuffed with thread, and I'm not quite sure if I'm going to even leave this one like this, because it's pretty and dainty, but I don't want one of those beads to break. So I'm gonna put, like I said, I'm going to use a size 8/0 next to each rondelle. So I have my 1 8/0 and 2, 4, 6, 7 11/0 seed beads, an 8/0 and a rondelle. And I'm going to do an odd number of these rondelles for the focal length. So it's just the same thing. 1 8/0 seed beads, 7 of the 11/0 seed beads, and 8/0, 7, 3, 7, and 8/0, and a rondelle. And I'm gonna just do an odd number, because I think that when you do an odd number, you're gonna have someplace this is gonna fall in the middle. So one of these rondelles will sit like in the center of your neck. So that's why I'm doing an odd number. So from here, I'm gonna do string on an 8/0 and 7 11/0s. And one reason I'm not using, I'm going to do an 8/0 and a rondelle. One reason I'm not going to use this color 11/0 is because these are packed with they're coated. They have this galvanized coating, and the holes aren't that big. So I don't want to stuff these and break them. So that's another reason why I decided on using an 8/0 outside of the rondelle. So I'm just going to continue until I have a sufficient number, a sufficient length of this focal center, and I'll be with you as soon as I'm done with that. I completed stringing my focal length. It's pretty long, and I used 17 of my rondelles, and that looks pretty good. This should look pretty good around my neck. So what I'm going to do now is when you start with your rondelle, you're going to finish with your succession of beads, the 8/0s, the 11/0s, the 8/0 rondelle. You're going to finish that, and you're going to with the rondelle. And so from here now, I'm going to string on an 8/0 and continue on with 7 of my 11/0 seed beads. 7, an 8/0, 4, 7, and 7 of my 11/0s. And I'm going to do that until I have 8 of these, 8 more of my 8/0 seed beads on the one side. And then I'm going to take my needle off and put it on the other side, take off my stop bead, put the needle on, and do the same thing until I have 8 more of my 8/0 seed beads on the other side. And it's going to be, I can't show it to you. It's going to be hard to show it to you because it's so long, but I'll make sure that I show it to you. So whenever I'm done with my stringing, this is such a simple bead stringing project, and it's so quick moving. You're gonna love it. You know, you're gonna make lots of them. You can do several of them in an afternoon if you're selling or anything, or giving them away as gifts. These are so easy, and just make sure you use some sturdy thread. That's all. So when I finish stringing my length, I will be back with you. Remember, you're gonna do an 8/0, 1 8/0, 7 size 11/0 seed beads, and an 8/0 until you get to the length that you want, and I'll be back with you then. I've completed all of my stringing, and at this point you are done with your rondelles and your 8/0 seed beads. And let me pull this together here. Oh, and I when I finished stringing the other side, I just put the stop bead there, and this is what we're working with right now. So this is what we have. My stop bead is on this side, and I've got about a 5-inch tail left down here, and the rest is going to be so simple. We're going to add the largest part of our clasp right now. I'm going to string on my wire guardian. I'm going to pass it through one hole, pass my needle through the one hole of the wire guardian and around the groove and into the other hole, and pull my thread. Make sure you manage that thread. Hold on to the wire guardian so that the thread sits in the groove. It's going to be loose for now, but don't worry, we're going to reinforce. I'm going to string on my toggle and pull that into the wire guardian, and I'm going to pinch my guardian. I'm going to pass my needle back into this 8/0 seed bead right here next to the guardian, and I'm going to pull my thread and just going to make sure that that guardian is still in the groove. Yep, it is. And just going to tighten this down. Again, we're not going to choke it, but it doesn't really matter right now because you have your stop bead. And from at this point now, we're going to string on. We're going to only be using our 11/0 seed beads now. I'll need 7 of them. Once you string on your 7 seed beads, you're going to pass your needle through this 8/0. I'm sorry. Yep. Yep, just through the 8/0 seed bead. And we're going to continue doing that. 7 seed beads. And pass your needle into the next 8/0 seed bead. We're going to do this until we meet up with our rondelle. So when I meet up with my rondelle, I'll be right with you. And it's still going to be the same thing. String on 7. Pass through the 8/0. When you get down to the rondelle, it's still going to be the same thing. You're going to string on your 7 seed beads, and you're going to pass your needle through the 8/0, the rondelle, and the 8/0, string on 7. And pass your needle through the 8/0, the rondelle, the 8/0, string on 7. And you're going to do that all the way, all the way, all the way, all the way. And this is the last one here. You're going to pass your needle through the 8/0, the rondelle, the 8/0, and continue. 7 seed beads, 7 11/0s, pass through the 8/0. String on 7 11/0s, pass through the 8/0. And I will meet you when we get to our stop bead. Here I am at the end of my bracelet, and as promised, I would meet you back here at my stop bead. I have strung on my 7 11/0 seed beads, and I'm passing my needle through the 8/0 seed bead right there next to the stop bead, and this is what we have. This is what we're working with right now. I really love these colors. And the only thing we have to do now is string on the second part of our clasp before we start making return passes with the desired number of layers. On this bracelet here, I've got five layers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 going through this poor little 11/0 seed bead here next to the rondelle. That means that when I went up one way and came back, the poor thing was just getting stuffed. So there's so many passes of thread through those 11/0s. I'm really sorry I did that to them. That's the reason why I decided to use an 8/0 next to the rondelles. Now I used the 8/0 here by the clasp, but I didn't think to use it all the way down on this bracelet. But no worries, that was just my test piece. So now here we are again. I'm going to string on my wire guardian. I'm going to pass my needle through the first hole of the wire guardian, and around the groove of it. And I'm getting short on thread too, and I'm going to need more thread. Once I get around that second hole of the Guardian, I'm going to pass my toggle bar in there and let it rest inside the Guardian. And again, as normal, we're going to pinch that Guardian, and I'm going to run pass my thread back down into this size 8/0 seed bead here. And untangle myself, as I often tangle myself. And this is what we're going to do. I'm going to add at least 4 layers of seed beads on my necklace. So the same thing that we've been doing, you can continue to do. You can use a different color seed bead. You can use crystals to embellish around between the seed beads as you make your way down. You can do anything you want because this is an easy and versatile pattern. So, but for this video tutorial, I'm just going to continue to string 7 seed beads, 3, 5, 7, and I'm passing my needle into the next 8/0 seed bead. And check here to make sure that your thread still is sitting in the groove of the Guardian, and mine is. Okay, so, and you can give it a little, pull it a little tight. That's what they call the taut pull. And continuing 7 seed beads, 3, 7, into the next 8/0. And again, into the next 8/0. You can let these twist, you can keep them straight, however you want to do it. This is so simple. I don't know if anybody else has done it, but I really like it. I hadn't seen any videos like this, and I hadn't seen any chain jewelry like this. That's why I felt comfortable doing that. 3, 4, 5, and down. And you just do that all the way down till you get here. And you're going to have to go back the other way anyway, because you're going to have to reinforce your wire Guardian. And would you look at this? I'm glad I came down to the other side and looked. My thread has absconded from the groove of the wire Guardian here. And so I'm just going to move my toggle, and I'm going to pick this thread up here. Just going to pick that up there, and I'm going to stretch it up and make sure that it gets back into the groove of the wire Guardian. There you go. And just make it sit there, make it sit in that groove. Uh-oh. I don't know, I'm a bit ahead of myself. I may just have to do this whenever I get down there. But that's one thing about not tying knots right now, because you have the opportunity to fix these types of occupational hazards. All right, here we go again. All right, sit there now, sit in there, hold my finger there, and success. All right, it's in there. There you go. All right, so continue stringing on your 7 seed beads and passing through your 8/0s. And when you get to the rondelles, as you have been doing, make sure you pass through the rondelle, the 8/0, the rondelle, and the 8/0, and continue adding your 7 seed beads until you get to the other side. Reinforce your toggle, I'm sorry, yes, reinforce your connection here on the other end, you know, by going through that wire guardian and back around. And if you want to add another layer to your seed beads, the fourth layer, you could do that, but don't forget that we got to get back down to the toggle bar end so that we can reinforce the thread that's going through the guardian here on this end. So don't forget to do all of those. And when you get done all of your stringing, and when I get done all of my stringing, I will see you in my next clip. So here we are, and I currently have 4 layers of seed beads, or four passes through the 8/0s with these layers of these 11/0 seed beads, and which gave me the opportunity to reinforce my wire guardians twice. So there are 2 threads going through each wire guardian. That it's pretty secure now. And what I did was I ran all of my thread through and reinforced and tied knots, and then I even put my needle on my tail thread and I tied that, and I wove the thread down this way, this column, and up this column, and down this column, and up this column, and down before I cut it off. So I've got plenty of thread there just in case anything happens. Now what I have decided to do is, even though I like this, the 4 layers of seed beads in between the 8/0s, I really like this. What I wanted to do was I wanted to make the centermost rondelles, I wanted to fill the spaces up in between here. So what I did was I put my ends together, and I decided that my centermost rondelles are these 7 here. And what I did was I tied a thread, a 1 yard length of thread. I've got that tied right here in between this 8/0 seed bead and the rondelle, and I'm going to advance my needle as soon as I thread it. I'm going to advance my needle through that rondelle. I forgot that I hadn't threaded it, so let me get that done. Let me thread this, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pass the do more layers there between the rondelles, as many as I can get through those 8/0 seed beads. So right now I'm just going to advance my needle through the rondelle and the 8/0 here, and I'm going to do the same thing that I've been doing the whole time. I'm going to string on 7, and I'm going to go to this 8/0 here, the rondelle and the 8/0, and I'm going to continue doing that. And when I get to the other side, the number 7 rondelle on the other side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass my thread, my needle, into a seed bead like this and pull it through, and I'm going to go back down this way, just like if you were reinforcing a herringbone, and back into the 8/0, and I'm going to come back to where my tail thread is, and I'm going to do that as many times as I possibly can. And when I am done with that, I will pop back on to show you my finished project, and the video will be complete. I finished going through the centermost rondelles, and I went back through 3 more times. I felt like I was stressing out the rondelles a bit, so I stopped at the 3 additional passes, and I like it. I like the fullness that it gives right there in the center. I really like that, and so I'm glad I did that. And now what I have done is I have advanced my needle through some seed beads, and now I'm going to tie a knot right here and trim this thread off, because this is the end of what we're doing. So what I did was I passed my thread between these 2 size 11/0 seed beads, and I hope you can see that the thread is sitting right there between those 2 beads, and I pulled up a loop, and I'm going to pass my needle into the loop twice, and I'm going to Then pull that knot right there between those two seed beads, and I'm going to do that again right in the same exact place, because nothing is really going to happen, you know, they're not going anywhere. Just pull that right in there twice. And I'm holding my finger there so it doesn't go anyplace. You see the knot right there in between those two size 11 seed beads, and I'm gonna continue advancing my needle through that one size 11 seed bead and the 8/0, the rondelle, the 8/0, and a few more seed beads. I'm not gonna tie any more knots because that embellishment is pretty much secure. So I'm just gonna go right down here, down these 7, up these 7, and these 7 here, and these 7, and pull that thread and get my nippers, stretch that out. Just going to stretch that thread and just nip that right off. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen and beading friends, the simplest and the quickest necklace, the rondelle rope, beaded rondelle rope, or rondelle beaded rope. There we are. There you have it. Well, I guess you can get a bit better picture of it if I open it up and do it like this, right? There you go. And it was so much nicer to, you know, to get that center thickened up a little bit. You know, I just wanted to fill those in so it looks a little bit better. But this is my rondelle beaded rope, and I hope you like it. And as usual, thanks for hanging out with me, and see you on the next video. Bye bye.